Alright, so before I get into my review of Monday Night Raw, there was a segment on the show where they had musical chairs with all the divas, and there was a line JBL mentioned about being one of the worst things he's ever seen. All I gotta say is, amen, that was the shits, and nothing more needs to be said. It was no musical chairs in 2004, where you had Chris Jericho, Tomko, and that moment with Ric Flair. So it was just something that was really forgettable. So with that out of the way, here's my review of WWE Monday Night Raw. Hey, what's up and how's it going, MRBers? I'm so glad that you have took your time to spend with me right here today on the MRB Wrestling Review Show. I'm your co-host, Mike McRock Wilson, and last night was WWE Monday Night Raw. The show kicked off when Triple H and Stephanie McMahon came out to the ring and they cut their little promo talking about that they took their vacation last week, and I still question why they took a vacation on their flagship show. That really doesn't make any sense, so I'll get right past it. Both of them came out, they done their promos, and this wasn't really going anywhere until Randy Orton came out and sold his emotions pretty well, I thought. When Randy Orton mentioned what happened last week when he got chokeslammed by the Big Show, which created a good pop from the crowd. And so with that being said, I thought that the first couple of segments were kind of a hit and miss, but the show picked up after that. What happened was that both Brad Maddox and Vicky Guerrero came out and stated their grievances to the Authority, and they got punished for it when Triple H and Stephanie made the matches. Vicky Guerrero versus AJ Lee, which I will get to in a bit, and the match that was coming up next, Randy Orton versus Brad Maddox. It was really nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary. Really all that was a way for the WWE to put Randy Orton over going into Survivor Series, and basically it makes sense, really, to have your WWE Champion look credible going into the pay-per-view to see if he's going to win or lose or not. I will do a prediction video right after this video, so watch out for that. And moving on, like I said, the show was a hit and miss, and the show did pick up after that. What happened was we got an Intercontinental Championship match. What I like about this Intercontinental Championship match is that we got to see two Intercontinental Championship matches in a row. One last week against Dolph Ziggler and one this week against Biggie Langston. So you know what? They're actually treating the Intercontinental Championship pretty well. And on top of that, Biggie Langston is the new Intercontinental Champion. I thought that was a very well done match. And Biggie Langston is not your typical big man that only does grappling moves and brawling, etc., etc. He'll do his suicide dive. He'll put his body on the line from time to time in his matches, and that's what I like about Biggie Langston. And the fans are really resonating with Biggie Langston right now, and everything looks good, for Biggie Langston. I'm glad he's the new Intercontinental Champion. The match itself was actually pretty good, and the only thing I hope that the WWE does not do to Biggie Langston is just throw the Intercontinental Championship around his waist and have him defend the title, put him in a rivalry to defend that title against Curtis Axel. I wouldn't mind seeing Curtis Axel either getting back his championship or somehow cheating to win, which causes a few weeks or a month-long rivalry between the two to make the title even more important. So I would like to see something good out of Big E Langston becoming the new champion. Get the ball rolling. Let's see where this goes from here for Big E Langston. And all I gotta say is that the title does look good on Big E Langston, and I'm liking what the WWE has been doing, booking Big E Langston building up to this match. They put him in with Dean Ambrose, and it opened up our eyes to Big E Langston, how he managed to hang in there with Dean Ambrose and put on a really good match. Same thing with Randy Orton a few weeks ago. That was his big breakout moment. And a couple of weeks ago with Alberto Del Rio. And now having him face Curtis Axel for the Intercontinental Championship and winning it. That's a good payoff for Big E Langston. And like I said, hopefully something happens. Not only with Big E Langston being the new Intercontinental Champion, but the title itself as well. Put Big E in a rivalry. Also on the show, we saw Big Show go one-on-one with Ryback, and I was very skeptical going into this match. This was big guy versus big guy, and look, the Raw repeat right now is having that match on as I speak, and I thought that kind of felt like a sleeper match, and I thought that it was a very well done match, and those two actually worked really well together. And in recent memory, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if this was the first time Ryback faced Big Show. I thought that, if this was their first match ever against each other, I would like to see the announcers bring that up, and they didn't. Which, it is kind of disappointing, but besides that, I thought that was actually a really good match. It wasn't a 5-star match, but it was a good match. And there was a couple of good moments in there as well. You had Ryback shell-shocking Big Show. He actually put him up on his shoulders. Now, going back to WrestleMania, Ryback had that match with Mark Henry, and the build-up was, can Ryback do it? Can he shell-shock Mark Henry? What happened? He shell-shocked Mark Henry. And on Monday Night Raw this week, we saw Ryback shell-shock Big Show, which was an incredible moment for Ryback. And what I like is that I actually thought that Big Show was about to lose, but it really wouldn't make sense for Big Show to lose going into Survivor Series to face the WWE Champion. So having him kicking out of the shell shock made sense. And that was a good moment in itself as well. So having Big Show going over Ryback, which he did, also makes sense because the challenger also has to look credible. So, even though this WWE Championship match feels like an afterthought, I like how they're gaining momentum for the Big Show and Randy Orton on the Raw before Survivor Series. And this is the match itself I'm not really looking forward to. It's just the build-up of the Big Show and to see the outcome going into this match. So with that being said, we'll see what happens in just 6 days at Survivor Series. Also on the card, we saw the Real Americans, Antonio Cesaro and Jack Swagger versus the Miz and Kofi Kingston. It really wasn't anything special. I thought that the part where the Miz, turning heel, not allowing Kofi Kingston to tag him in, I thought that moment was probably the only good moment that I thought that came out of that match. And here's what I think. I miss the Miz. The snarly guy I couldn't stand going into WrestleMania 27 when he held the title. So I like to see him come back. hopefully we do get him, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think that putting him in a match or in a rivalry with Kofi and Kingston would be a good direction to go in, because there's not a lot you can do with Kofi and Kingston and The Miz, so why not put them two in a match? I understand now there's going to be a kickoff match at Survivor Series, and I will do my prediction video on that match as well. Also, we saw AJ Lee versus Vicky Guerrero, and I thought that Vicky Guerrero was really hilarious. It was, entertaining how Vicky Guerrero was trying to avoid the match, faking the injury, coming out on the stretcher, and praying to AJ Lee to not take me out. I thought that Vicky Guerrero sold it really funny, but in the end, it wasn't really the greatest. It was, meh kind of thing. So with that being said, AJ Lee going over Vicky Guerrero never really helped AJ Lee in her career as a diva in the Divas division, being the champion. And I'm surprised they put AJ Lee in that situation. So, I see something weird happening with Vicky Guerrero in the future. And because of this whole power struggle, the abusive power with the authorities, Triple H and Stephanie, it just feels like that Vicky and Brad are just overshadowed, and they're not really utilizing Kane as well. He's just a guy that's just there in the background, and that kind of sucks, coming off as this new gimmick. Also on the show, we saw Dolph Ziggler versus Damien Sandow in a Broadway brawl. I thought that it wasn't, a 5-star match, but it was entertaining, and Triple H said make it entertaining. I thought it was really entertaining. And the funny thing is that going into this match, both Damien Sandow and Dolph Ziggler have this cloud over them, and there's really, the WWE, not much they can do for them. So why not just put them together, put on a good entertaining match? And I thought it was just that. I like the use of the drums and the ukulele and the violins, etc., etc. And that moment where Dolph Ziggler was channeling his inner Jeff Jarrett, I thought that moment was actually pretty good, because you can't help but compare Dolph Ziggler to guys like Jeff Jarrett and Billy Gunn. So with that being said, Dolph Ziggler is a guy that I think should be put in the title picture sometime in the future. I could see a situation where after Survivor Series, John Cena defends his title against Alberto Del Rio, Dolph Ziggler, Damien Sandow, maybe in a fatal 4-way TLC match at the TLC pay-per-view, something along those lines, having those guys in there to actually use them properly going into next month's pay-per-view. So we'll see where it goes from there for Dolph Ziggler and Damien Sandow. Also on the show, we saw R-Truth in the debut of Xavier Woods versus the Rhinestone Cowboys, but we all knew it was 3MB. And with that being said, I thought that Xavier Woods' debut was actually pretty solid. It was a good debut, and he was TNA's Consequences Creed many years ago, if anyone remembers. And I thought that, pairing him up with R-Truth was actually pretty good. They are very similar. They are the danceable, entertaining guys. And why not put them together as a tag team? It's a stretch to say, they're the new tag team in the tag team division. I would like to see Xavier Woods, have a couple of tag team matches with R-Truth, and branching off as a singles competitor. And his work on NXT, I think is tremendous. It's really great. And now having him debut on the show before Survivor Series, usually you see a debut, a build up to a debut after a pay-per-view, but I like that we saw him before the pay-per-view, because, it gives him something to go forth, with R-Truth. We'll see what happens. He has, I think, great potential in the WWE, and we'll see where it goes from here. Also on the show, it was the main event. The Usos, Cody Rhodes, Goldust, Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk versus the Y family and the Shield. And I thought that, that was a very well done match. And it was also a really good pace at the end where they had everyone in the ring all at once, nailing their finishing maneuvers left, right, and center until, the good guys got the win. And shortly after that, we saw Rey Mysterio come out and gain the one-upsmanship on the bad guys. I thought that moment was great. It leaves the audience going home really happy, and it was and overall, the show I thought was really above average. So what do you think about last night's Monday Night Raw? Comment below and let me know. And to all you MRBers watching, get plenty of rest and always do your best.